Today I'm going to talk about doing things when you don't really feel up for it. Welcome to the Up in My Business podcast with me, Lex Lancaster, where you'll get an inside look at all things tech, business, and my life as a physical therapist turned digital operations expert. You'll hear all about my lessons as a business owner, the ins and outs of tech for your business, and more. From SEO, websites, and email marketing to automations, launches, and copywriting, I've got you. I'm so excited you're here. Let's dive in. Before we get started today, I need to give a shout out to my favorite EMR and practice management software, Jane App, what is also the sponsor of today's show. You might already be familiar with the name, but if it's new to you, Jane is a HIPAA-compliant clinic management software and EMR and the sponsor of Up in My Business. Chasing down patients or clients for important information isn't anyone's idea of a good time, especially when there are forms to be filled out, payments to be processed, and consents to be collected. And that's why Jane has designed user-friendly online intake forms so you can gather all the information you need ahead of the appointment. It really is the best, you guys. Whether that's health history, insurance details, or a credit card on file, super, super important there. Jane will even send a friendly reminder 24 hours prior to a patient's appointment if they haven't completed their intake form yet. This saves you from having to manually follow up on your end. To see Jane in action, head to my show notes to book a personalized demo, or if you're ready to get started, you can use the code LEX1MO at the time of sign up for a 1-month grace period applied to your new Jane account. Welcome back to another episode of Up in My Business. Sorry, I just had to adjust my mic there. It was way too far away from my face. I hope you are doing well. This episode will officially be out on Monday, December 2nd. If you are listening to this, my Black Friday sales are live to my newsletter. So if you're part of my newsletter family, today is the last day to jump in and get those Black Friday deals. Black Friday, Cyber Monday, whatever you want to call it. I did start it last Monday, so a week ago, because I honestly just want people to have the opportunity to quote unquote get it over with and purchase before the holiday. And it's one of those things where, to be honest with you, I likely will not be around my computer, and I don't love the pressure of needing to purchase on Friday or Monday because I'm busy and I like to think about things and I'm that person. Or if I have it on a list and I'm like, I'm just waiting for them to say yes, then I will just go purchase it. But I wanted to start that soon. So today is the last day officially to grab any Black Friday discounts if you're on my newsletter list. If you are not on my newsletter family before today, then I'm sorry, you won't get the email. And I'm saying that confidently because when you sign up for my list, you're not going to get an automatic Black Friday discount deal. But because you listen to the podcast, I do want you to know that what you can do if you listen to this and you're like, I'm not on my newsletter family, feel free to send me, or your newsletter family, feel free to send me an email. I can't guarantee that I'll get back on Monday, but I will take that into consideration and potentially send over that link to finish the sale by Monday night. So you can email me on Monday to join my list and I'll get you access to the sale, but after Monday, deal is closed. Or Monday, I say today because you'll be listening today. No real big updates because I'm pre-recording this episode, so I just went over life and business stuff in the last episode, and I feel like I don't really have a ton more to report. The biggest thing is just that I'm booking into February and March of next year, so please know that if you're booking a discovery call, I am booking into February and March. And I say that with so much love. If you're not familiar with my business model, most of my clients are retainer clients. So outside of my retainer hours, I only have a finite amount of time to have coaching calls and services, meaning like do it in a day's SEO signature starts, what have you. So once they're gone, they're gone. So that is why I have a very finite amount of time available outside of my retainer clients and Lextramind. Okay, that's really all I had to update. I am recording this episode. I just got off the phone. With someone close to me, and I wanted to record this episode based on that. I struggle to talk about this because I'm like, I am speaking from a place of a massive privilege when I say this. Okay, here we go. I come from a place of massive privilege when I talk about stuff that I'm going to talk about now, because the thing is I want it to be very transparent that I am able to do things within my business now that I could not do prior. And I've said this before when I make my schedule, when I, take on clients or don't take on clients. So I recognize that I have changed over the course of time, right? Because my business has changed. My business has evolved. My business has grown. So I'm speaking from a place of privilege because I can now do things that I couldn't do before. So if you listen to this and you're like, that's great, that's awesome advice, but I can't do that yet, I'm just going to say, like, put it on your vision board, write it down, just have the goal of being able to do at least some sort of form of what I'm talking about here. So let's just dive right in. Over the course of the last month, there have been things besides the election, between the election and personal relationship stuff, meaning like my family, my friends. I will just say, like, collectively, life and business have just been difficult. So when I say difficult, I just mean that life is very good, right? So like my day-to-day is very much so the same. There's not a ton of variety on purpose, right? And I choose to do certain things. I choose not to do certain things. And it just makes for a very easy life, meaning I'm not in a constant state of chaos, which is how I felt when I was working for someone else in a PT clinic. I felt like I had no control over my schedule. I had no control over, anybody coming in the door and what I was and was not going to be able to do. And even when I first started my business, you are in both businesses as a physical therapist, my PT business and also my online business. You're in a place of like, I'm going to see whoever walks in my door or whoever contacts me, at least talk to them and acknowledge that they're reaching out. And then potentially, hopefully, you will likely help them because one, you haven't learned your no yet. And two, because your business is just starting out. You don't really have the I will say the privilege to say no to a ton of people because you have to make money. So with all of that being said, I have created a life that I genuinely do love. I love my day-to-day. I love how things work out. I love how I am working for certain hours and not other hours. And I really have no complaints. I will say though, one of the things that I really struggle with, and I think a lot of people likely struggle with it, is showing up when things aren't great. And I think like a lot of people, I have two different approaches for this, because when things are stressful in your personal life or when things are not 100%, and I will say like the whole country, the whole world has been under a lot of stress for a decent number of, months, and things did peak in the past couple of weeks. And, on top of that and a lot of other really, I'll say difficult conversations that I've had to have in my life, things just have been more difficult than normal. So with that being said, I think one of the biggest things that I've learned throughout this process is that you have to show up regardless. And by showing up, I mean for yourself. I will say that, there is no tact in my mind of like, how to show up when things are not great. I don't think there's legitimate, like, you have to do this or you have to do that. For me, I know that I have felt the best when I choose myself. So I am the first person to tell you, and some of my retainer clients will say yes, like that has happened before. As long as I'm not pushing a deadline, which I don't do, as long as I'm, operating out of my integrity, I will email a client and say, hey, I don't have the capacity to continue working today. I'm going to finish what I'm doing now, and then I will reschedule you into a different day. I'm just thinking about multiple times that this has happened, because I do think that, there's this mentality of like, you have to keep showing up. You have to keep showing up. And honestly, like there have been days in the past month where I'm just like, I show up and then I decide it's too much and I let people know and I move on accordingly. Like I said, speaking from a place of massive privilege, I can do that because I have my retainer clients. I have gaps in my schedule that I can fill with their work. And I work from home, so it's not like I'm commuting somewhere and then having to go home afterward and people aren't coming to see me. Everything's online. People aren't scheduling with me. It's mostly just retainer work. So it's all done on the back end. But for me, I'm just, I do think it's important to understand that even if none of those things are true for you and your business, there are going to be times where things are too much. And I do think that it's okay to recognize that and then course correct as needed. I will say that if I were back in the clinic right now and there was something that was super heavy on me, I am not entirely sure I'd be able to provide the best care for my patients that day. So if I didn't choose to call in sick or mental health day, whatever you want to call it, I may have showed up and then said, you know what, I actually can't do this, and then went home. And I recognize that may be something that gets you fired. So I'm not advocating for you to do something that's going to obviously not allow you to make money and provide for your family, what have you. But what I'm saying is that I do think we all need to take a step back and just recognize that sometimes we have to choose ourselves. Every day we have to choose ourselves. But there are times when it just does not make sense to push through something that doesn't feel good. And choosing yourself can just mean, in this moment, I'm going to take some simple action in order to put myself first. So if you are not able to go home, are you able to take a break? Are you able to see a patient 15 minutes later than you typically do? So you have a 15 minutes to yourself. What does that look like? And that's obviously it's difficult. I recognize that's difficult. And that's why I started this with saying I'm coming from a place of privilege and that my business is structured in a way that I can do this without really thinking about it. And the other thing that I want to say is when it comes to something like social media or, other marketing things, mostly I will say social media because obviously that's the place where I show up for most of my marketing. I will post old posts. If I am at capacity and I'm not feeling great, I will just post old stuff. It's once is never, as Shantae would say, and realistically, it doesn't matter that you're posting something that you posted months and months ago because most people haven't seen it. And even if they have, they likely like seeing it again. Trust me, because they tell me that. So feel free to just post older content if you don't have the capacity to create new content. It's a-okay. Now, as always, I will say I'm a tactical person. I'm a very these are the steps we're going to do. I'm very concrete. I'm not someone who's going to give you hypotheticals. I don't like to give hypotheticals. I don't really love to get into the I'll call it the coaching game as far as what do you think? And this is super open-ended and it could work for you. It could not work for you. I don't love doing it. Simply because I'm not the best storyteller. I am very good at tactical, tangible things. So I stick to my strong suit, if you will, most of the time. And every once in a while I veer off course and I talk about something like this where I'm like, you know what? Sometimes we need to choose ourselves when things are difficult and do what's best for us. And in order to do that, it's important to have some sort of idea of what you can do in a moment. Even if you don't have a schedule like what I'm talking about with my business, there must be something that you could do if you're not feeling too great in order to course correct in the moment and allow yourself more capacity or more time to increase your capacity for the rest of the day. But also I just want to acknowledge before I end this, sometimes shit sucks. And that is, I will say all of us are not talking about the shitty stuff all the time, and people are not always honest about where they're actually at when people are asking. And obviously that's on the person to say, actually, you know what? I'm not doing that great. And that's fine. But just understand that everybody has these days, and I will say that I've spoken to a lot of people over the course of the last month who are in a similar, like, it's not that great today mode, and it's not fun to be in. It's not fun to feel like you're alone in that moment. And I will just say that if your work allows you to make a change or, move things around so that you can better serve yourself while also continuing to provide for your family, or creating, if you own your own business, are you able to create space in your schedule so that you can just say, you know what, I can't do it today. And this is the change that I'm going to make today. I might have to see patients on a day I don't typically see patients. I might have to stay late, but I just can't do it today. And that will make me feel better. Because I will say, if I cancel today, today's work has to go somewhere else. So that means another day is going to be full. But by giving myself back today, does that mean I'm going to show up better in the long term and on that day that I do have to work extra? All right, friends, that's all I have. I will get off my soapbox, and I appreciate you listening. I appreciate if you got anything out of this. I'd love to know. I know that it's tough to, like I say, talk about hypotheticals and situations that, may only be applicable to a few people, but I do just want to throw it out there that sometimes showing up means choosing yourself, and sometimes showing up means that you may need to move things around, change things up in order to choose yourself first, and then you can go help other people. Okay, I will chat with you next Monday. Don't forget, today is the last day to take advantage of the Black Friday, Cyber Monday discounts. And other than that, that's all I've got for you. Thank you so much for listening. I will catch you next time.